the most common, I think, thread there is most of the farmers are struggling on how to maintain or at least give fertility to their soils. So let's talk a little bit about that because I think I had a conversation with one of the farmers who was like, hey, I've been buying manure from Masai land. So what he does is he gets that manure from that part, from the Masai land, and then he uses in his farm. And from the first conversation, you mentioned that not all manure is the same. So, what can such a farmer who gets like manure from different parts, it really doesn't have control on what is going to feed his cows and stuff. So, what are the next best steps that they can take to actually improve their manure?
Let's understand what a farmer does. As you mentioned, one of the best manures for the farmers, as per the farmers, what is happening in the market is the manure which is coming from the Maasai land who keep the cows. So, which cows are these? As I mentioned to you, these are the indigenous cows which are made by God. They have not been crossbreeded into something else. They are grazing in the nature, and that manure is what is collected and it is kept in their boma, right? And the manure from the cow keeps on adding on that, and then they will shift and go to the next place, and that's where now the dung is collected, and this one is left there for 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, 1 year, 2 year, 3 year there in the sun, and they say that is how the manure is getting ready. Okay, the farmer transports it to his farm. So assuming a farmer is 150 kilometers away from this, or 100 kilometers away, the minimum he shall pay for transport is around 7,000 shillings. He will pay around 5,000 shillings for a truckload of that manure. So say he's paying 15,000 shillings for a 10-ton manure. Okay. This is how everybody does it. So everybody has their own recipe of putting the manure. So some people will, when they are planting, they'll mix the manure with soil and a few other things. They'll put some hay or grass which has been cut, or the weeds which has been cut without the seeds, and they'll put it inside when they're planting, assuming they're planting avocado trees or whatever. So everybody has their isabu, debe moja, debe bili. That's how it goes. There are a few questions here. When this manure is being done, is because you have seen your neighbor or you have seen your parents using manure. So it has come to us because we have been looking at it, everybody using it, right? So can you point to me one scientific reason where somebody has given with analysis why is he using this particular manure? For example, I have asked more than 3,000 farmers whether they have done a test report for their manure, and said, manure is organic. Why do you need to test? So we have assumed that it is organic. Yes, it is most of the time, but now you see times are changing. You don't know what kind of diseases those cows in that Maasai land they are getting and what kind of injections they have been given. Because that is the first thing. But there are also some other places where the manure is being sold on the roadside near the farms, where it is coming from a cow which is for dairy. There might be some manure which is coming from from the slaughterhouse. Now you don't know what kind of disease that cow had or whatever is there. You just think it is organic. So there are a number of aspects of this manure. Now let me tell you my way of looking at it. I've been to Kajiado since our last podcast. I've been to Kajiado 10 times. I've got 4 farmers with whom I'm working there. One of the farmers, I told him just to put a small shade on his boma, and I said let sunlight not hit that manure or that cow dung, because it is going to decompose slowly, if I can use that word. The reason why it is kept in the sun is because it is very hot. It is decomposing. If you put your hand inside the choma, that many times they say, manure is not ready, choma roots. They say that it has burnt my roots. Yeah. So now tell me something. When you see a heap of manure lying in a farm, if you put your hand, it is still hot, isn't it? It is the temperature of that manure is much higher than the outside temperature. Yeah. So now, if I tell you there is a different way to make this manure, I've done this manure on more than 100 farms. Okay, you take the fresh cow dung and you take the various waste what you can get on your farm, chop it in as much small as possible. So as we say, the brown matter, carbon. So whatever you get, you mix it. What I generally tell the farmer is that keep the ratio in a same way. So what happens is when you're putting it on your beds, if you find a certain deficiency, the deficiency also will be constant. So assuming you're growing something and it needs calcium and there was no calcium there, so you know what to do to put calcium, just one example, or maybe you want to put some boron. Now those small things can be managed. So the way of making manure is something which is very, very important. I'm making manure. There's a farm, 35 acres, has got 110 cows, and I'm making 50 tons of manure there. A farmer, which I got from a podcast from Embu, is buying 100,000 shilling worth of manure my way, because he does not have time. Because what I'm making is not manure, it is actually organic fertilizer. See, you have to understand what is organic fertilizer. You get the organic matter, you put microorganisms, you leave it for some time, and when you get it's very light, and when it's done, they will pellet it. From India, there are many people who are getting a lot of organic fertilizer which is pelleted form. But the moisture is not there. Now imagine I'm making something which is better than that on your farm with whatever waste you have. That is now when you see the farm visits start. So in case of large scale farmers, it's affordable. But in case of small scale farmers, we have been talking. I meet them in Nairobi. I give them, this is how you do it, and we take it ahead from there. So this is how the basic difference in compost manure is there. So that's why, I called it also your gold mine. Why this is a gold mine is only you will know if you try it. And to make this gold mine, you don't need a lot of money. You just need a temporary shade. If you can't do that, you can just take some cover and cover it under your tree, and it is there. Mix it with a few ingredients. In 30 days, it's ready. Put it on a small bed, plant something, and see the difference. Typically, when you see a farm and when they have pits, if you look at the pits, this is how normally pits are done, and the waste is cut and they are put it. If you look at it, they have not cut it fully. Some of them are very big.
Yeah.
Now, the composting time for this, even right now, this is 3 months old and it is not composted. So generally, it takes 6 months, 7 months, 8 months. But we shall show a way where this can be composted in this pit in 2 months, and if it is outside the pit, it can be composted within 1 month. The way these pins are treated, it is treated as if it is a place Kuttu Pagasya. But what if I tell you that this is your gold mine? So this is what we are teaching the farmers and showing the farmers, how to turn something which is your pit for Gassia into a gold mine.